Well, there is never a dull day in real estate. And this past week, there's been an article that's gone somewhat viral on LinkedIn. It's written from the perspective of a home seller, and the headline of the article is Compass Exclusive Almost Became a $100,000 Mistake. We'll dive into the article, but really the point of this episode is to talk about what is a private exclusive listing and how is it costing home sellers significant money, as well as how do these private exclusive listings, like what the brokerage Compass is advocating for, harm home buyers. My name is Nick. This is the DIY Homebuyer podcast, part of the DIY Homebuyer Academy, which is where I teach and empower homebuyers to represent themselves in real estate transactions. By removing the buyer's agent, I'm helping homebuyers save between 2 and 3% on their next home, which generally adds up to $15,000 to $20,000, sometimes even more. And it is my mission to help Americans save over $1 million in buyer agent commissions this year. If that's something that you're into, please do subscribe to the show and check out the links in the description below where you can join the DIY homebuyer community for free, connect with me, all of the good things there. Now, of course, usually what I talk about in these episodes are issues directly related to home buyers. So why in the world am I talking about an article from a home seller's perspective and private network listings, right? Isn't this a show for home buyers? Well, yes, it is. But the thing is that most home buyers are also home sellers, or at least become home sellers eventually. And I think that just having a pulse on what is happening in the industry will help you as a home buyer speak more intelligently when you're interacting with listing agents, as well as just give you a better feel for, okay, what is actually going on in the real estate market. Plus, all this drama is just kind of fascinating. So, let's talk about this article and what happened. The author is Caitlin Bigelow. She and her husband live in San Francisco. They've got a condo there that they were wanting to sell because she's wanting to make a career change and become a real estate developer to build missing middle housing. So to fund that, one of the things that they wanted to do was sell their condo. And she says in the article that they talked with a Compass agent. They had their magic number in mind, what they wanted to get for their property. And when they shared that with their Compass agent, the agent said, quote, "There's not a comp out there that supports this number, and we need to set expectations appropriately." And the agent then used this idea of that, hey, you've got your magic number, I don't have comps to support it, to then transition into this pitch. Because we don't have comps, let's go ahead and test the market by listing your home privately first. So if you're completely unaware, new to this conversation, I did a video a couple weeks ago about Zillow and Redfin taking a stand against Compass and their private network of listings to say, hey, if you ever list privately, your listing will never show up on public feeds like Zillow's. So if you want to get some of that backstory, you could definitely check out that episode from a couple of weeks ago. But in summary, Compass has built this private network, like their own version of the multiple listing service that only Compass agents have access to. And they tell consumers, home sellers, that there are 3 phases to their marketing approach. Phase number 1 is where the home gets marketed privately just to Compass agents, and it allows sellers to test the market without accumulating any days on market, without having any sort of reflection of price drops, and it gives the home sellers time to gather feedback and make adjustments or improvements to the house before they actually go live. Phase 2 is where they do a coming soon listing. So this is where it actually does get posted on the MLS, but it's not technically being publicly marketed yet in this coming soon status. And then phase 3 is where it basically would become a traditional listing that gets syndicated through the MLS to all brokers, agents, brokerages everywhere except in as of May 1st, it won't be showing up on Zillow, Trulia, or Redfin if the home seller went through this private network option first. So that's, in summary, like how those three phases work and what the agent had talked this couple into doing, to list their house privately and to try and get that magic number. Well, while the house was privately listed and being only shopped to Compass agents and the buyers working with those Compass agents, this couple had two showings. And one of the people that saw the house ended up offering the magic number. And so, of course, the couple here that was selling their condo, they were thrilled and they accepted the offer. Well, a couple of weeks later, the home buyer got cold feet. They backed out. And so the Bigelow family decided, all right, it's time to just go public with our listing. And when they did, well, they got into a multiple offer situation, people bidding for their home, and they ultimately ended up with an offer that was $100,000 over their magic number. So by going to the open market, they got $100,000 more than they would have had they have sold it privately to this Compass buyer. Now, there's a few major lessons to learn from this whole story. The first is that the open and free market is always, I mean, in 99.99% of situations, like the open market is always what's in the best interest of all consumers. And I say all consumers because for sellers, the more eyeballs that you have on your home, the more showings you're going to get. And the more showings that you have, the more offers you're going to receive. And the more offers that you get, the better price and the better terms that you're going to get for your home. So you want for your home to be seen by as many potential buyers as possible, at least if your goal is to get the best price and the best terms. And the Bigelow's family experience here, it proves that exactly, right? Like when they listed it privately, they only had two showings. When they listed it publicly, they had tons and tons of showings, tons and tons of interest, multiple offers, $100,000 more. So any seller in their right mind is going to say, yeah, I just want for my house to be as publicly available as possible. And this whole idea of testing the market that Compass pitches to sellers, I think it's a big farce. Why is it in the best interest of home buyers for homes to be publicly available? Well, because you want to know everything that is out there. Like you, as a home buyer, you don't want to have to go to 20 different brokerage websites and have relationships with 20 different real estate agents and get locked into having to use a buyer agent at one of these brokerages in order to see the homes that are available. Like that is moving backward, not forward. Actually, pre-internet, back in like the 1980s, before the MLS was really invented, like it used to be that you, to see the available homes, you would have to go from brokerage to brokerage and you would have to look at their big binder full of listings and just see what it was, or you'd have to look in the classifieds in the newspaper. Fortunately, technology has made it so that now you can go to a one-stop shop like Zillow and you can see virtually everything that's available. At least that's how it has been. And that's what Compass Private Listing Network or private exclusives threatens, is that now as a home buyer, you can log on to Zillow and there's this question mark of, am I seeing everything, or do I actually have to go now and look at Compass's website and any other brokerage that tries to follow suit? And so as a home buyer, that's not in your best interest to have limited access to all the homes that are technically available. Actually, the only party that truly and clearly wins every single time when it comes to private exclusive listings is Compass. They're the only ones that always stand to benefit because When Compass controls the listing and when it is private, only to be seen by Compass agents, the brokerage makes more money because it means that the listing agent who works for Compass is receiving a commission and Compass is taking a split of that. And if there's a buyer's agent, which most likely there will be, because how else is a self-represented or DIY home buyer going to see this property? They won't unless they're working with a Compass buyer's agent. So the Compass buyer agent, their commission is also going to be split with Compass, the brokerage. So the brokerage gets to double dip on both sides of the deal, and they're laughing. Plus, it makes great like agent attraction kind of thing of that, hey, when you work for Compass, not only as an agent do you get to see everything on the MLS, but then you also get access to our private exclusives. And this may sound like, Nick, why are you even talking about like why would any seller ever agree to having their house privately marketed? But the thing is like the number of sellers that are going this route and doing the private exclusive first is growing pretty rapidly. Like we're close to 30,000 listings that Compass has had this year on their private listing network. And part of why it's growing so quickly is because Compass is pressuring their agents hard to get home sellers to agree to be a private exclusive listing. Again, not because it's what's in the best interest of the seller or home buyers, but because it makes Compass far more profitable. That's a big, big issue. And the people who defend Compass say, well, sellers should have a choice. We're just trying to defend seller choice because not every seller wants their home to be listed on the MLS. And some people want some time to just be able to test the market, or they're concerned about their privacy, or this three-phase marketing plan is the best of all possible worlds. They have data that I am seriously suspect of. Compass does, where they're saying that homes sell for 3% more when listed privately and sold on the private network. I don't know where they're getting that data from. They have not been very forthcoming or transparent about that data. And also, it's like, compared to what? Like, how do you know? It's an argument from silence because any home that sells privately, it never got to test like we would have seen with Caitlin Bigelow. Like, if her home, if the original buyer had gone through, yeah, the seller, they would have gotten their magic number, and but the buyer would have been like, I don't know if I overpaid, if I underpaid, like it, and the Bigelows would have never known that their house was actually worth $100,000 more. So I don't know where Compass is getting this data. It seems like the only way that you can be sure that you're getting top dollar for your house is when you make it as publicly available as possible to all potential buyers. But the point is they make a very strong case, and most home sellers, when they're hiring an agent, they get caught up in the marketing pitch. And so my concern is that home sellers are being manipulated into agreeing to list their home privately. They don't know what kind of offers they're potentially missing out on. And now, with what Zillow has said, they may miss out on the biggest pool, the biggest portal where their home could show up in front of the most potential buyers, because Zillow is saying if you list your house privately, you'll never show up on our site. As a home seller, unless you are like an elite celebrity athlete, movie star, politician, like unless you're selling a $20 million property and you value your privacy more than a few $100,000, you should not list your home on any sort of a private network. And if any agent tells you that you should, they're absolutely a grifter. They're not looking out for your financial interests. They're looking out for themselves and for their brokerage. I just don't see any way around that? If you've got thoughts on that, let me know. Let me know in the comments, or shoot me a message to just say, hey, Nick, have you considered this angle? I will happily consider it. But as I've been thinking about this for weeks and weeks now, I just cannot see any justification for how this private network listing is a benefit to home sellers. And from a home buyer perspective, it's really funny because Compass agents, I was talking with one the other day, and she made the argument that, well, private listings are excellent for home buyers because there's less competition. I just wanted to pull my hair out because I was like, wait a second, you're telling me that you sat down with the home seller and you told them that private listing is great for you because it allows you to test the market and get your aspirational price for your home. But then you're also telling home buyers that private network, private exclusives are great for you because there is less competition. I was like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, those two things can't be true at the same time, because less competition almost always means that the seller is not going to get as high of a price or as good of terms, right? Like, it's just basic supply and demand kind of a deal there. And so the only two possibilities are that seller lists at the aspirational price, and because of lack of data, lack of other comps, buyer from the Compass agent uh, pays more than they should or more than they need to for the house. And again, there's a conflict of interest because both of the agents that are involved in this deal are Compass agents. So clear conflict of interest there, right? So either the seller gets their aspirational price, which is over market value, and the buyer pays it, or because there is a lack of competition, the buyer gets a sweet deal and the seller never knows it because they never tested the market and got all of the possible offers, and therefore they're leaving money on the table. But you cannot say as a Compass agent that private exclusives benefit both home sellers and home buyers. Those two things can't be true because what those two parties want are opposed to one another. And as a home buyer, while it might be great that there is less competition for homes that are listed on the private exclusive network with Compass, you're still having to use a Compass agent to access those. And Compass agents are ridiculous when it comes to their fees. Sure, they say that all commissions are negotiable, but Compass has used some of the most sketchy practices where I've looked at their buyer agency agreements. And instead of even just having blanks where you fill out and negotiate with the agent what the percentage is going to be, they've got like a choose your own adventure, but that percentage starts at 3% and then goes all the way up to like 4.5 or 5%. Like, it's absurdity. Plus, on top of that, they have some of the most absurd, like, broker fee, junk fees that they add on. So in addition to whatever you and your agent agree to, let's just say 3%, then Compass is also going to charge you as the home buyer an additional nearly $1,000 in brokerage fees. God knows what those are for. And they're doing the same damn thing on the listing agent side, where the listing agent is getting 3.5, 4% plus another $1,000 of junk fees to the brokerage. And so as a home buyer, like, you're stripped of your real, like, autonomy as a home buyer. You're paying through the nose in additional fees. I don't think that you can trust that the buyer agent who's representing you is actually working in your best interest, because they are so financially incentivized to get you to move forward on one of these private exclusives, because that's what their brokerage is pushing. It makes them look good. It just, the whole situation, like, hopefully you can see it and feel it as I'm talking about it. The whole situation is so fraught with issues that it's like, yeah, no, I'm out. I can't recommend private exclusives to home sellers or home buyers alike. And of course, as I talk with and advocate for DIY home buyers, self-represented buyers, you know who doesn't have access to any of these Compass listings? Oh yeah, you don't. Like, how else are you going to know about them or see them? You hear about a house that's in a neighborhood that you love, and you want to check out the house. Well, sorry, you can't. It's a Compass private exclusive, and the only way for you to see it is to get locked in with a Compass agent and pay those absurd fees. Like, you get stuck in a system, and this is why the whole real estate industry gets called a cartel, because it functions in just this anti-consumer, anti-competitive kind of way that it's ridiculous. It's very very upsetting. So I am so grateful that the way things worked out for Caitlin Bigelow and her family, the initial buyer who found, like the Compass buyer who found the property on the private network, that they backed out of the deal. And I'm so glad that it worked out that the Bigelows got $100,000 more for their home. And ultimately, like, I hope that the buyer was self-represented. I hope that they were able to save the 3% or so in buyer agent commissions. And I hope that they feel good in knowing that there were multiple offers on this house. Like, they paid what it was worth. Like, that's what the market was willing to pay. And so they should feel good about that. Plus, they actually had access to it. Like, this family that wanted that condo, or the individual that bought it, like, they didn't know about it prior when it was listed just privately. So I'm sure they're feeling great about what they paid, and the deal that they got. And I want for Caitlin's story to be a cautionary tale to all home sellers and to home buyers as well. And I want for this, like, the part of why I think it's so important that Caitlin shared her story, and why I wanted to do a podcast about it here, is because the more people that are aware of what's going on, as you hear about private exclusives, as you have friends that are thinking about selling their home and they're talking with Compass agents, or you just kind of catch in the news clear cooperation policy and Zillow and Compass standing, it's easy to just like let all of that stuff just be noise that you never think about. But these are real issues that really do impact consumers and can cost people. And by people, I mean your friends, your family members, your coworkers. It can cost them tens of thousands, if not, like in the case of the Bigelow family, $100,000. And so I want you to be informed on these issues. I want for you to be able to speak to them intelligently. And I want for you to warn any home seller, hey, don't list your home privately. Get it as public as possible. And I also hope that you tell your home buying friends, hey, check out Nick and the DIY Homebuyer podcast and DIY Homebuyer Academy. Learn how to save 3% on your next home. It could be one of the most valuable moves that you make, investing in yourself, your education, becoming empowered. And if that's something you want to learn more about, like I said, links are in the description below. I've got a freebie for you, the 5 strategies to save you $5,000 or more on your next home newsletter. There's a link to just set up a call with me and then join the free school community. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one.